Here's WWF Wrestlemania, released for the Commodore 64, Amiga, and a whole bunch of other things by Ocean Games in 1991. Look, I know there were a lot of WWF games released, so some titles would likely be repeated, and the WrestleMania name carries more clout than, say, SummerSlam. But was it a great idea to share a name with one of the worst wrestling games ever? At least this one comes with free pin badges. We'll start with the Commodore 64 first. After a neat intro screen with spotlights, you get to choose between three characters: Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, and the British Bulldog. Wait, why do those pictures of Hogan and Warrior seem familiar? Hold on. Those are the same character selection photos as the ones in WWF Superstars, covered in Episode 5. Is this game some sort of sequel I've never heard of? Well, kinda, yeah. So you get to pick between the three face characters, and the point of the game is to beat 5 heels, none of whom are playable in the single-player version. Most of the games we've covered let you play as all the characters in the game, with maybe the exception of boss characters. Or games like Map Mania, where you can only be one character. This is the first where you get a choice of characters. There are several characters in the game you can't use. Anyway, up first is Mr. Perfect. Before the matches, you'll hear from your opponents, and then you get to choose a retort. Again, why aren't you allowed to type up your own response? The Commodore 64 is a computer, so you had a keyboard right there. Anyway, the promos don't add a ton to the game, but at least most of the dialogue sounds like something the various characters would say. Oh, and this is a load screen. If you don't have a seizure, you proceed to the first match. So the match starts and both wrestlers run to the ring. The game doesn't look all that bad. The ring takes up the whole screen and the wrestlers look good, although Mr. Perfect looks more like early 90s Scott Steiner to me. In other games where the ring takes up most of the screen, like Pro Wrestling on the NES, when you toss someone outside the ring, the screen will scroll to the right or left to show the floor. But in WrestleMania, when you throw someone out, they just vanish into the ether and come running back to the ring at the bottom of the screen. Gameplay is similar to Superstars, but there are only singles matches and not tags. You have one big grapple move, but due to the Commodore 64 only having one button, you have to mash the joystick left and right to pull it off. Unfortunately, the C64 just didn't have the controls or graphical power to match the arcade version of Superstars. Anyway, after Perfect, you face the Warlord, looking much more like Randy Savage. Then it's Ted DiBiase and, hey, the Mountie! Take that, random YouTube commenter! Last is Sergeant Slaughter, who looks like a mutant. Seriously, what the hell? And you get this well-constructed trash talk. You have a face only a mother could love. And how your mother must have wept when she saw the face she would have to love. You're too ugly to hold this belt. Zing. Was this written for Rick the Model Martel? Anyway, beat Sarge and you win the WWF. Good to see the Ocean Times had an LOL cat on its writing staff. There's a 2-player option as well, but get this. Player 1 can be Hogan, Warrior, or Bulldog, while Player 2 can only be Mr. Perfect. Huh? Well, at least there are those pin badges of Hulk Hogan, Hawk and Animal, and the Big Boss Man, and 3/4 of whom aren't in the game. So the Commodore version isn't all that great, but the Amiga version looks amazing, pretty darn close to straight-up port of Superstars. How did I never hear of this? My only complaint is that the version is way too easy. It's almost impossible to lose a grapple. You can beat the game in literally 7 minutes. Still, this is one of the few actually good WWF console games up to that point. Okay, enough fooling around. Starting with episode number 25, we're going to start focusing on my favorite series of wrestling games ever. So next time, you might say we're embarking on a world tour. Join us, won't you? Until then, thanks for watching, and remember, the winner is you.